Hello everybody, Conodger here, and welcome to this month's monthly channel update. It's going to be a little bit different this time. You can probably tell already. I'm not in a Solstice. Not because I didn't get it back. It is back. It is working, if you do know anything about that. I want to do something a little bit special, a little bit different this month, because today, the day I'm recording this, and hopefully the day I get this uploaded. Come on, do I ever record and upload a video not on the same day? Very rarely. I wanted to do this today because this is the 3rd anniversary of my first release of a Let's Play on the channel, which is basically what I'm considering the start of my channel. So 3 years that I've been doing this, and about a year ago, I ended up doing one of my first vlogs was building a Lego set, and it was a Minecraft Lego set, just a little one. But this year, for Christmas, I got a bigger one. I got multiple cameras going on here. No idea which ones I'm going to use or which ones are working. I'm using another GoPro to record audio. It's probably going to be a mess, but darn it if I'm not going to try. Alright, so this is set 21115. Oh, 111. It's for you, Lorgon. And it is, I think, your first night? Yeah, the first night. How do I open you? Do I need the safety knife? It's too safe. Alright, what do we have in here? How many pieces does this say? 408. That's not too many. That's not too bad. 408? Yeah, okay. I'll say that's not bad. So it's definitely a regular full scale this time around, unlike the other one, which was like, I don't know, half scale Lego. Something I had never seen before. But it's a neat set. It like comes apart so you can see the inside of the end and whatnot. I guess that's actually a little dated now, isn't it? Because the end looks different. I have yet to see the new end. What happened to you, piece? Everybody, 1, 2, 3, all in one piece. Wow, that's a book. I think that's because there's multiple ways to build it. I think it says something like, use your own inspiration, or something like that. Build your own creations, inspiration included. So there's multiple ways to build, and I presume, let's see here, that is one way. And is this another way, or is this all the same? I don't know. We'll start in the beginning and go from there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, since I'm sure everybody and their brother has seen this particular Lego set get built already, I am going to do a little bit of an AMA. I asked on Twitter, on Patreon, and on some of my more recent videos, I asked people to fill out a little survey to ask some questions, and I got some. So we will cover some of those as we go here. But let's get started. We found Steve. We found Steve's body. Where's your head, Steve? Is your head in the little bag? Did it say to open the little bag? Why is it saying... I have no idea what it's saying there. Okay, he's in bag 1. So where's your head? There's your legs. Purple? I don't remember your legs being purple. Are they purple? You know, I've only played a few billion hours of Minecraft. How would I know that? Where's your head? That's gotta be in the little one. These are the little guys you always lose. Aha! It's the block I've never seen before. Because it's not a round head, it's a square head. How convenient. How fitting. Alright, oh, there's Steve. Yep, stand up. And let's see, now we want to assemble a creeper, which, pretty obvious guy right there. And he gets 2 little guys on the sides. Alright, and where's his head? There's his head. So we'll put you 2 together. You can do whatever it is you do. Well, don't do whatever it is you do. That might not be good. How about you go over here? Alright, so that is officially empty. We have begun building. So, what is question number 1? As I start here, it is... Where did you get the name Cone from? The name Cone. It's, I wish it had a cooler story. I wish it didn't have such a boring backstory. But the name Cone comes from, let's see, it would have been around 2003, 2004. I was just transitioning from kind of doing a lot of the NASCAR sim racing stuff to doing more road racing stuff. I got pretty obsessed with Live for Speed, which is very fitting because that's the first game that I did a Let's Play on. That's what I started my channel with. So, tying it all in together, I already messed this up. And let's see, there was a server called the Cone Dodger server. And that was probably my favorite of the public servers. Unfortunately, that server closed down shortly after I kind of got into it. But the name kind of stuck. I liked the name. And it wasn't until 3 or 4 years later that I abandoned my previous alias, which was Dodge, because growing up I was actually a big Dodge, like the manufacturer fanboy, mostly because of Vipers. There's a big Viper on the wall. Still love the cars, but obviously I've gotten more into the imports recently. And then, yeah, kind of just stuck from there. And one of the cool things about Cone Dodgers, the server, is that they would host autocross events every now and again. And that's actually one of the things that first got me interested in autocross. So unlike most people that find out about autocross and then probably get into sim racing, I got into sim racing and found out about autocross. So that is how that all shakes out. Why are we building upside down? This feels weird. These questions are going to be in no particular order because I'm just reading them as they were submitted. So the next one is, how do you think Haas F1 will do this year? Obviously I hesitate to use the term big F1 fan. What is the step going on here? Oh, that's a random arrangement. So there's going to be 3 things left. So, no, there's 4. So it goes right there. Hope so. Another one of those. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an F1 fanatic. I follow it. Obviously, I have an F1 series. I've been doing F1 for a long time on the channel. F1 2012, F1 2013, and now F1 2014. And, I don't know. The series usually makes me very angry because it's so not the kind of racing that I personally enjoy. Because it's so much money, there's so little realism to it, you know. It's just completely wacky, zany, and completely out of reach for any normal person. But it's still very interesting. I love the technology of it. I love the strategy that goes into it. I think F1 is more like a stick and ball sport than any other form of racing. That's kind of a weird statement, I know, but it's just the way it is. You know, like I said, there's more strategy to it than there is actual, like, I hate to use the phrase driver skill, but sometimes it's really just comes down to that. You know, sometimes it's not about who is the best driver. It's not even necessarily always about who has the best car, besides the recent, you know, decade. But back to the question, how will Haas F1 do? I foresee them probably... Haas, I know because of my NASCAR background, has... he's a very determined individual. It took him a long time to make it in NASCAR. They did not have success right out of the gate like people might think because of the success that Stewart Haas had. Haas didn't really do a whole lot until that combination with Tony Stewart. But it seems like he's gone kind of the same direction this time and has connections with Ferrari. And Ferrari is coming around right now. Ferrari is on the upswing versus some of the other teams, McLaren, are on the downswing. So it could be that they're going to do quite well due to that partnership. Let's see, Stewart Haas, I want to say it was their second year they won a championship. I think it was the second year. So obviously he knows how to get a business up and running quickly. He didn't go too fast like a lot of teams try to do. They just they don't take the time to get ready. And where are these small pieces going? I messed them up. I'm going to do a lot of this, I think, with the talking and the building. Oh, no, it only goes on this side? Only goes on this side. Just kidding. Just kidding, everybody. Boink. Come on, if I can race and do commentary, I should be able to build Legos and do commentary, right? Probably not. Ooh, I said Legos. I didn't say Lego. Sorry. Very sorry. So that is how I think they will do. I do hope that they do well, because I want to see Formula One succeed in the States. I want to see it get popular again here. It's had a couple periods where it was pretty popular. I'd love to see that again. Not so much for Formula One, but for racing in general. It's good for motorsports if F1 is doing well, because it gets people interested just in racing. And if they get interested in racing, they'll probably get interested in other forms of racing that I am maybe a little bit more interested in, like sports car racing. So what do we have here? A chest, I suppose. The chest gets bread in it. Where's the bread? I don't see bread. Is this bread? That is not to scale. That is not what Minecraft bread looks like. Good try, but not quite. And the chest doesn't even close. The bread's too big, man. It's probably bread from something else that they've built, and they're like, yeah, we got bread, just use this one. All right, now we need a workbench, huh? So that is one of these guys. And then this one. Come on. Yep. All right, minor equipment failure. I've been trying to use the DSLR to record for years now, and every time I do it, I forget that it overheats in 20 minutes and stops recording. So I need to stop doing that. I got a nice new fancy webcam, so why don't we use the nice new fancy webcam? Hopefully this works out. Where were we? I think we were done with the F1 topic and ready to move on to the next question. Why did you buy a Solstice? Why did I buy a Solstice? If you had asked me that a few months ago, I would say because I liked it and because I thought it would be a nice, fun, reliable daily driver that was different. And I have a full video coming out soon about why exactly I bought Solstice. If you ask me that currently, I would say, I don't know, it just cost me a lot of money because of the whole water pump thing. But yeah, overall, still absolutely love the car. Still think it was a good choice. If it was the right choice, I don't know. Who knows? It's just one of those things that it's kind of taking a risk anytime you buy a car, especially a used car without a warranty. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not going to go too crazy into that topic because as I said, I have a video coming out somewhat soon about that in more detail. So look forward to that. Two little pieces again. Looks like we're doing a pretty similar maneuver here. What is the next question? More iRacing streams. Honestly, probably not. I would say the current rate is the maximum I can schedule in at the moment, and that will be usually Thursday night, sometimes Wednesday night, depending on how the week goes. And that is just for practice for the week's charity challenge race. iRacing in general is a huge undertaking as far as time goes, and if I were to dedicate more time to streaming iRacing, it would probably just make the rest of the stuff that I do suffer, and not make me enjoy iRacing anymore. If I get too into the iRacing thing, it just becomes a whole load of stress on me, and it stops being fun. So that's why I kind of limit it to what I do. If I didn't have a regular job and just sat around making videos all day, I might stream a little bit more, but that's not the case. So as of now, that's probably going to remain as it is. Do ducks want sun chips? I guess. That's what Mitch Hedberg said. So I guess we got to believe him. We can't ask a second opinion now. All right, what are these things? I don't know what they're supposed to be. I guess I'll find out in a minute. It's two of these, and then one of these guys on top. Is there a back, a front? There's not. I have no idea what these are supposed to represent at the moment. It goes right on the seam, and it goes this way, and then more of those. No, seriously, what are these supposed to be? I have no idea. Maybe we'll find out. Uh-oh. Come back. Come back. I remember when I was really into the Lego thing, I had one of the little pickers, looks like a... I have no idea how to describe what it looks like. You know, it's a little thing that, sticks onto it and peels the pieces off. That thing was great. Okay. These, and then lights. Lights, I used to love the lights. That was my favorite part of getting a set, is that it would increase the amount of lights that I have. Because I was always more a fan of building custom things than I was necessarily the sets. Or I liked doing the sets, but then after a week I would get tired of it being built and I would destroy it and it would just get homologated with the rest of my Lego. Look everybody, it's a rose! The rose is back! It's not a poppy. Nobody likes you, Poppy. Alrighty, let's start making ourselves a bed and answer another question. When did I start racing? I started, that's kind of a two-part question. I started sim racing when I was, let's see, that would have been 1999, 1998-ish. So it would have been like 11. Obviously it was a little less serious, a little less intense than it is now. But then, kind of like on a semi-professional sim racing level, at 15 or so, 16, I started doing the league stuff, and then real racing. It's up for debate. Some people don't consider autocross real racing. That's their opinion. They can have that opinion all they want. I consider it real racing. I started that in 2000 and I think 2007 would have been my first events. Oh, we need to combine the worlds. Okay, what is it saying here? Something happens with something. Chomp, chomp. Chomp, 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 chomp. Oh, around the bag too? You didn't tell me to we'll put the axe in his hand because the axe is my new favorite weapon. See if anybody else notices. The other thing I did with Steve, I don't know how in focus this video or that video or any of the video will be, so maybe nobody will notice. We will see. Let's put that over there. These are the classic Lego extras. Next three questions all grouped together. What car got you into racing? What was your first car? And how fast is your 240? I'm going to assume these questions are all from Pirelli. And I will answer them in one lump sum. I think that's it. Man, this is actually going together pretty quick. I better start answering these a little faster. Let's get the big pieces over here. Usually I'd separate them out by color, but I don't really have the room, and I don't think there's really enough pieces to be warranting that. So my first car was indeed a 240SX. It was a 1989. I bought it for, boy, it's been a while. That would have been in 2004, and it was right at the beginning of the 240 craze. Like, I thought at the time that was the 240 craze, and that would be it. It would be over in a couple of years. No, I had no idea the level of fandom that it would achieve in the next few years. You know, regular, I think. It doesn't show the little textures on it. Do we have any regular ones? Oh, it's a light one. I think I paid $1,500 for that car, which doesn't sound like a lot. Sounds pretty cheap by today's terms. It had rear end damage, the paint was faded, and the engine ran on about 3 cylinders when it was going good. And we ended up putting a new engine in that car pretty much immediately. Next page. So that car kind of got me started with a 240 craze, got me started, with being obsessed with them. Using that term very lightly. I don't think it's an obsession, just because I've owned 7 of them. And it was a good car. It wasn't exactly my dream car, but at the time it was. At the time it made me extremely happy just to have that car, just to know it was mine, to know that I kind of built it to some extent, though at that time my dad was actually helping me out quite substantially because he had the knowledge of basic mechanical workings and everything, and that was really my first time working on in a car. I had always worked on, small stuff before that. So he helped me out a lot with that. Much to his dissatisfaction, because he wanted me to get an American car, like a Camaro or something like that, something he was more familiar with. So it was kind of a trial by fire for him as well. I don't know if this is in frame, but it's actually the one behind the black car there. So I still have pictures of it somewhere, and the brochure is of that year too. It was a good car. It got me through my first years of working on cars and stuff like that. It just wasn't exactly everything I wanted it to be. But it was what started me down the path of working on cars and all of that good stuff. The next question is from Georgian, who asks, if you had a chance to get a driver contract with any car, any series, any time, what would it be? And the answer to that, I think I was doing that right. Yes. Right? Maybe. Definite maybe. Yes. The answer to that is probably an endurance series, something like your IMSAs, something to that effect. I really like sports car racing, and especially endurance racing. It's just, it's a very pure form of motorsports to me. Something that it's relatable, like they're relatable to regular street cars. Even the prototypes, I think, are more relatable to street cars than are, say, Formula 1 cars. It's just very interesting. The dynamics of getting a car to work for that long are very interesting. Honestly, I'd be more interested in working on a car like that, or working for a team like that, than I would in driving, probably. Because, I don't know, I'm a very realistic person, so realistically I don't see myself as somebody who could be driving a car like that, because I am far too old to be pursuing those dreams. But given the opportunity, somebody just walked up to me and said, here, I'll pay for you to drive any car you want. That's what I would pick. And when I'm streaming, you can see on the wall against where I'm streaming, it's just a ton of sports cars, because that is the kind of racing that I personally think is the coolest. Lord Stark wants to know how I got into racing. That was, again, kind of in part due to my dad, who is into racing. He was very much so a NASCAR fan growing up, and certainly got me and my brother into it a little bit. More so me than my brother. He's only kind of come around to racing in the last 10, 15 years or so. But that's kind of where I got my start there, and then it just kind of snowballed, mostly through video games, that I got into road racing. That I found that road racing I thought was more interesting than NASCAR, and I just kind of have a love for all motorsports now. Jinglestog wants to know what my favorite F1 livery of all time is, and this is probably going to be a weird one. When I was first getting into F1, really liked the orange Arrows cars. I thought that orange and black car was one of the coolest looking Formula One cars ever. That, I guarantee you, is not many people's response to that. I cut off the end of it, but I think PackBat asked this, how did I get into working on cars? And I kind of answered that through my first car story, because that is exactly how that happened. I got a car that needed to be fixed for the purpose of learning how to do that stuff. Oh, we're building up the back again. Okay. And that's what kind of started it all. Just having the necessity to fix a car to get it to go. I found out that I'm actually, kind of okay at it. I think I have very good intuition on what needs to be done or what needs to be fixed, how things come apart, how things go back together. And I think the fact that I was working on primarily, for basically the entirety of it, I was working on the car that, hey, I broke it, that I was driving. It was my only car. It kind of gave me a good mindset of how to fix things. Oh, sorry, Steve. How to fix things the right way instead of necessarily taking more risks than you need to. So I guess patience is what it boiled down to. I made a lot of mistakes early on getting too deep into things. Like I would barrel off into things without the knowledge, the time, or the proper tools to get the job done. And when you make that mistake enough, eventually you learn, and you just back off a little bit. You don't go head first into things before you need to. If you set up the time aside to do it right, you're going to be way happier than if you rush through it. Oh, I see a spot I missed. Oh, no, I didn't. That's how it's supposed to be. Just kidding. It's also given me a good appreciation for things that I know I just shouldn't be doing, like water pumps on solstices. I very quickly and respectfully bowed out of that one. And I'm very glad that I did. Changing gears a little bit, Xavier wants to know what got me started with the whole YouTube thing. That would have probably been primarily the fault of Kurt. It's all your fault. You did this to me. I've talked about this at length many times in many videos about how his videos, specifically Farlands or Bust, gave me a greater understanding of kind of who I am and like why I am the way I am that I never really understood until that point. And if not for that, I don't think I would be nearly as happy now as I am. I'm a little bit dry at times. I don't show a lot of emotion a lot of the time, but there was certainly a time previous to me starting the YouTube thing where I was pretty down in the dumps about like just not going anywhere, not doing anything that I was proud of. And oh hey, here's the pic. Where's the pic? There's the pic. And starting the YouTube thing was really inspired off of kind of his recommendation, his stories of why he was doing it. And I know it sounds kind of weird, but I really just kind of thought it worked for him. Maybe it would work for me. Maybe it's gonna fill the void that I currently have. So yeah, to not go too far into that, because I've definitely talked about that multiple times throughout my YouTube history. And even recently, I think as of within the last year or so. Basically, I did it to try and do something that I was proud of and something that I could afford to do, something I could, start up myself. I created something based off of my own inspiration and everything like that. I've always tried to do things that are unique to me, even though obviously like this, I'm basically copying what other people do on YouTube. I always try and do things that are putting in my own little bit of inspiration into it. So because that's going to start rambling on, that's where I'll end it. That is the reason. Alright, so the next question is, how long have you been interested in cars and racing in general? A very long time. Probably since I was as far back as 6, 7, that kind of range. I have been interested in racing long enough that in 1994 I would have been, 8 or 9? No, 7 or 8. Math is hard. I distinctly remember Ayrton Senna's passing at Imola, and that was something that, as kids, we were not told. I mean, like a lot of times when you're young like that, your parents tell you of famous people that have passed or things like that. That was not one of those cases. I don't really remember how I came across this information. I want to say it was something I read at school, like in a magazine or something like that. I had a lot of reading issues growing up. So, how did I do this? What have I done? What have I done? This is not supposed to be like that at all. So, my teachers, I had some good grade school teachers that were very interested in kind of making sure that I found a way to enjoy reading, so they would bring me in stuff like that. I had one in particular that would bring in magazines and such, and I can't remember exactly if that's how that went, if it was through something like that, but that's definitely one of the first racing memories I have, so pretty darn early. And then cars, I would say Gran Turismo is solely responsible for me falling in love with cars, and especially imports. Dear old dad definitely got me interested in them, and he took us to lots of car shows and things like that, and most kids will find whatever their parents find interesting, but it was in my later youth, 10 to 15 range, that I really just got obsessed with it. I have no idea what we're building right now. I'm pretty sure it's a door, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, that's got to be a door, right? Right? It's got to be a door. Okay, that's why we've been leaving that off of here for so long. Oh, look, and it swings. That's cool. Yeah, they made it in a way that the little plates here, the little pressure plates, take up the gap. Neat. This one's also from Xavier. I don't know if I mentioned that these questions were from Xavier Penguin. The last couple have been. If given enough money, how many cars would you own and what cars? Given enough money, like realistic money, probably 3. I would love to have the 240 as a track/project car. I'd love to keep the Solstice, but kind of modify it a little bit to more to my likings. I would certainly like some aftermarket modifications to that guy. And then the third car would be something weird. I would love to have something like a classic Japanese car, either a first-gen Celica, or even just something random, like the Mark II Supra. My old roommate had one of those, and I absolutely love that car. I'd love to have something like that to restore, have as a fun project car. Not a racing project car, but just something to, restore, have fun with, a cruising car, something like that. That car could also be, that void could be filled by another AW11. Absolutely loved my first gen MR2. Unfortunately, I just didn't have the budget to maintain 2 project cars at the same time, and for me the 240 is always going to come first, so it was the one that stayed. But if the opportunity ever arose to maybe do a restoration on AW11, I would love to do that. Helen wants to know if I have a catchphrase, and sadly I do not. I am not really a catchphrasey kind of person. I just kind of It says 4 pieces. Where do they go? When it comes to catchphrases, I just kind of adapt to the people around me, usually. I got called out quite a bit in the early me and Kurt F1 videos because of that very reason. People assumed I was like trying to copy him. I was trying too much to be like him. But that's just how I am. It doesn't matter who I'm around. It's just like, if somebody's using a phrase often, I'm going to pick it up. And that's going to be something that I start saying. It's just the way it works. Something is wrong. Aha, I see. You go over here. Helen also wants to know if I have a sleeping schedule. What a shock that you would ask that question. Helen is very obsessed about sleeping and not being able to sleep and stuff like that. And the answer to that is a simple no. I have a completely random sleeping schedule because I work completely random kind of hours, both for my in real life job and for the YouTube thing. There's some days where I'll stay up till 4 a.m. or so working on rendering videos, making sure they're ready for the next day, etc. And sometimes I'll go to bed at like midnight. Generally, I always try to get about 8 hours of sleep, though. Blue Raccoon wants to know who the least famous person I have ever met is. That is an interesting question. And I have actually considered this for some time now because I've been trying to figure out a good way to answer it. And so far, I have failed. Who is the least famous person? Like, how do you get the title least famous? Does that mean that you are hated? Or does it mean that you are just not known by anybody? I guess it's probably the not known by anybody kind of thing. And, let me think about who have I met that just absolutely nobody knew existed other than myself. That is very tough. And how do you give anybody that label and not make it sound like it's an insult? That is the tough part. Now I just read the question even further and I'm even more confused because it says, who is the least famous person you've never met? Blue, you stopped me on that one. I'm sorry. I got nothing. Maybe someday I'll have a good answer for that one. Maybe for the 4-year anniversary video. I'll put it on the list. Powers2240 wants to know how I got started in road racing. Yes, road racing. That is kind of the same answer I've already mentioned, so I guess I answered that one already. Basically through sim racing. Oh, here's PackPet wanting to know how I got started working on cars. So that must have been somebody else. Hold on, let me look. I don't know who the other question was from, but at the end of that, there was another question that I'll get to later. But PackPet, pretty sure I got your answer on lockdown. Yole Ole wants to know if I have do I have festive and reflective striping like a cone? What about getting something like that as a tattoo? Me and Kurt are alike in many ways. Tattoos are not one of them. I was a somewhat sickly child and had to get a obnoxious amount of shots as a child, and I now avoid needles as much as I possibly can. There will be no tattoos in my future. I will not have reflective striping like a cone. It's just not going to happen. Mole's Revenge wants to know if we can do bingo night earlier because they found my channel through bingo, which is cool. I didn't think there was anybody out there that just found my channel through bingo. Although I guess technically the bingo night guys did. And girls. Sorry, Goth Fairy and Helen. I would love to move bingo night earlier. However, we keep it later because Obesity, who is basically the founding member of the bingo night crew, has children and needs to get them to bed before we can begin, and he is on the West Coast. So bingo night will probably stay where it is on its time slot. I absolutely enjoy that group, and we have a lot of fun every Sunday. Oh wait, that's tonight. We have a lot of fun every Sunday night, make sure you join tonight. This video will probably be going up right before it. And I'm sorry if the time slot doesn't work very well for you. Hopefully in the future I'll get to do more streaming. I'm a terrible solo streamer. I have to have other people there or I get very uncomfortable. So hopefully as things progress, I will get more opportunities to stream with more people and stuff like that. Mole's Revenge is also enjoying the F1 series with Kurt and I, and wants to know what other series they could look for, since they aren't very technically minded with cars and stuff like that. What would be a good series to kind of get into that without it being super overly technical? If you're just looking for something to get into cars, I would actually kind of suggest the Smoking Tire. Matt Farah does a... Sorry. I'm so sorry, Pirelli, if you're watching this. I know you hate Matt Farah. Oops, broke window. But his one takes, more just for the driving aspect. What makes cars interesting to people? That's what you can take from that. It's not technical. He doesn't go into super detail about, you know, what suspension setup does what. It's just more about the feeling that a car offers. And I think that's a great start to give you like a car person's perspective of what makes a car great. It's very basic. It's very, this is why this car is awesome, or this is why this car is not awesome, etc., etc. Shook wants to know, Bingo Night, Shook wants to know what kind of game got me into... what game got me into gaming? That is kind of an interesting question, because why are those not at the same height? Are they supposed to be at the same height? Saved it. Broke it. Saved it again. I think I was in the middle of answering a question, but I'm probably just going to repeat it. Shook wants to know what kind of game got me into gaming. That's weird because I was really young, but my brother and my mother were really into console gaming, like the Marios and stuff like that. And I loved it as a Let's Play standpoint. I used to really enjoy watching them play those games. I was always terrible at them, probably because I was not old enough to like grasp the controls and whatnot. No, you go all the way over. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Oh no. Don't break everything. Oh, good job. This goes over all of them. Yep. Got it. Got it. All right. Noisy chair. So yeah, I would just sit there and watch them play games like that, and that's what got me into gaming. Eventually, I got old enough to find games that I enjoyed, which were primarily racing games, your F-Zeros, your stuff like that, and then very early on, the earlier NASCAR games, NASCAR 99 I think was my favorite, so that would have been probably my first game obsession in general. Just happened to be racing games. Shocker, I know. Daffy wants to know when the Supercharged 240 will be ready. I don't have a set date as of right now. Obviously, the incident with the Solstice did a number on the old bank account, but the plan was to have it ready for the first event of the season, autocross season, which is in mid-February. I just broke something, didn't I? Just a little bit. Can we fix it? Are you fixable? Get it. Yeah, that's looking a little bit not feasible at the moment, but hopefully I'll still be able to do the entire season of autocross because I'll be able to use Brent's car to start with. So hopefully by springtime. That's what we'll say. Hopefully by springtime. And Daffy, if you don't know, is one of the developers for Automation, and he and the whole company. Sorry guys, has helped out a lot with my channel and with that project, because I actually made a very early large donation to even start that project. So lots of thanks out to them. Well, not a donation, they sponsored it. They actually got a decal on the car, so they sponsored that build. Caswell, also one of the developers, wants to know if I'm ever going to fix the accelerator pedal on my G27. When it gets bad enough. I've taken those things apart 3 times already. Every time it's a mess. It's a really delicate procedure to do it, and I usually end up having to do it like 3 times to get them back together right. It's not very fun. So for now, I'm living with it because, you know, you can adjust it to basically not be an issue. Money no object. What would be my ideal track car? That is another good question. And I think I already own it. I would love to just go full out race car with a 240. I would actually like to do it in somewhat of the replica fashion of a GTU IMSA road racing car. So if you want to know what that is, just look up 246 GTU and you'll see it. And something like that would be really cool just as a fun track toy. Because to me, a track car isn't necessarily something that is super competitive, but something that's just really fun and interesting. It doesn't need to be the quickest car out there. Just fun to drive and interesting, has an interesting story, something like that. What is my favorite European car? That for sure has to be the Moby Dick 911. Love those cars, love the shape of those cars, the slant nose with the big wide body fenders. Everything about those cars is just perfect. Oh, is that it for 2? That's it for 2. All right, well, I guess the main house is done. Now for the other half of the book. I better answer these questions rather quickly because I noticed that the GoPro that my mic is on is getting like the very little sliver of a battery. So let's see. Why don't cones fly? Cones don't fly because I, A, just don't like the thought of flying. B, I have a lot of ear pressure issues that gets exacerbated just by like going up elevators. And the thought of being on a plane sounds absolutely miserable. And it just the thought of that, just like thinking of the magnifying the amount of pain I get in an elevator with going on a plane sounds terrible. And that also answers, he asks, when are you going to visit New Zealand, you clown? I would love to visit New Zealand. It seems like such a cool country. But at the moment, it doesn't look like something that's either financially feasible or, unless you can get me a really fast boat. It's not going to happen anytime soon. Obesity, another Bingo Nighter, wants to know if you could be anywhere at any time, past, present, or future, any dimension, where would you be besides at home sleeping? It took my answer, darn it. That's another. That one's kind of like Blue's question. There's so many options there. Well, Blues didn't really have any options. It was just hard to answer. But I think probably turn of the century. Maybe 1910 or so. If I was just going there to visit, that would be a really cool time to see the kind of innovation mechanically. You know, steam powered was at its height, and gas engines were just being created. Flight was just being created. It was a very mechanical, hands-on kind of renaissance, and that seems like an era that would be really cool to visit and experience. Somebody, I don't have a name on this one, wants to know, aren't the insides of cones usually empty? And I have been described as being empty inside, so I suppose they are. If you had a choice, would you rather be a driving cone or an ice cream cone? That's a tough choice, because if you're an ice cream cone, you're going to get eaten. And if you're a driving cone and I'm on the course, you're probably going to get hit. I think I'd rather be hit than eaten, though. And the last question that I have is there any number of viewers that would give me stage fright? I think, viewers-wise on a video, probably not. I think the one time I experienced that is when the first automation video got posted on their Facebook page or something like that. And that was like the first video I ever had that went viral-ish. It was the first video I ever had that got 301 locked when that was a thing. And I was absolutely not ready for that because I didn't know it was coming, and I didn't realize it was going to get, I think, like 20 or 30,000 views, something like that. And I was terrible. I was awful at doing commentary at that point. I was still in my old house. That's like 3 houses ago now, and the recording setup was terrible, and I always had to be very quiet because there was other people living in the house, and they had kids, so I needed to be very quiet. And overall, it was just not my top quality. So I guess that kind of gave me a little bit of stage fright. If I ever had the opportunity to attend like a PAX or something and people started to recognize me, that would be very weird. I know when I went to Minecon Orlando and met all the Minecrackers at the time, that was like the best. That was the best night. I felt really bad for some of them because you could tell they were just swamped with people the entire night. Like, there was no getting away. And I just remember sitting back and thinking, these guys have got to be like freaking out inside. Especially guys like Kurt, or even Beef seemed a little weirded out. Goo definitely, well, Goo's weird because you can't tell if he's just like stressed or freaking out, if he's just being gooed or if he's freaking out. But he certainly seemed like he was having a little bit of a freak out. So yeah, if I ever got put into a situation like that, there would probably come a point where everyone would be like, where'd Cum go? Wasn't he here? I would just disappear, because that's what I do anytime there's a crowd. All right, that is all of the questions that I have. Thank you, everybody who asked a question. That was a lot of questions. That was a lot more than I was expecting, but all very good questions. Maybe we'll do a little bit more of this in the future. I have no idea how this whole setup worked out. We'll see. All right, we are all done. There is a completed set. It's pretty cool. I like that one. It's very, it's kind of retro Minecraft. Brings me back to the earlier days of Minecraft, which I sure do miss a whole lot. I really miss making Minecraft videos, to be honest, but I realize there's just not a whole lot of demand out there for them at the moment. Hopefully that changes sometime in the future and we can get back to that. I know I would certainly enjoy it. I guess the time has come to fix old Steve's legs that were on backwards the whole time. And we'll put him out in the front yard. And where should the creeper go? Where did the creeper go? Don't lose track of the creeper. I think it's only fair that we put him over here with the pig, since he was supposed to be a pig after all. There we go. It opens up inside. You can see the inside. That's a pretty neat set design. I think that's a newer Lego thing. I don't remember sets doing that earlier on in my youth. All right, that's a wrap. Hope everybody enjoyed. Thank you all for your support. I kind of mentioned this a little bit in the video, but doing the YouTube thing has been a very great thing for me. It has made me a much happier person, and I enjoy doing it. I'm so glad that we have a following now where we have a great community that's building around not just necessarily my content, but the idea of my content. So I appreciate everybody's support, and I hope to see you again in a new video very shortly.